presentation last 2 weeks ago. So continuous glucose monitors are a wonderful piece of equipment for not only our patients, but also providers. It provides a wonderful overview of what's going on. So we're going to talk about the Dexcom G6 and the Medtronic Guardian Connect. Next screen. So what is CGM? So CGM is a continuous glucose monitor. This is a method to track glucose levels throughout the day and night. Other than putting the device on, some of them don't require any other direction from the patient other than wearing it. It updates the glucose every 5 minutes along with the glucose direction. So there's like 2 arrows up or down, and that's changing 2 to 3 milligrams per deciliter, and that's a drastic change. One arrow up or down is just minorly changing, and then there's also a arrow straight across that's showing that there's less changes in the blood sugar at that time, so that's pretty stable. It's a small waterproof device that's worn 7 days for one, 10 for another, typically on the abdomen, that uses interstitial fluid to give us those sensor glucoses. Next. So who can use it? These are actually approved for ages 2 and up. Anyone with type 1 diabetes, this is a great piece of equipment. Type 2s with hypoglycemic unawareness. Anyone with type 2, but typically getting it covered through insurances, they kind of have to have those lows to prove need. Next. So the benefits. This, over the 24 hours, it will give 288 readings per day. So 288 versus 4 on just checking your blood sugars. So it gives us a better idea of what to judge insulin doses off of, and give an idea of how the patient's responding to meds and food. It also offers 24-hour monitoring and recall. And these devices, unlike the Freestyle Libre we talked about a few weeks ago, give alerts for highs, lows, and fast changes. So you can not only set it for when a patient hits low, you can set it for 90 and 5 increments all the way down to like 50. But also if they're going to be predicted to be low, 30 to 60 minutes before that hypoglycemia goes into effect for those hypoglycemic unawareness patients. So these are great products for children, elderly, mentally challenged. It can replace many finger sticks and allow caregivers to access readings from afar and give them peace of mind that they'll be alerted if needed. You don't always have to have, what's my blood sugar doing? So next. So the perks. These devices have come a long way, and because everyone has a smartphone on them, both of these devices can actually connect to your smartphone so that you don't have to carry the receiver or your glucometer at all times. It actually uploads the data to us. There are 2 different portals for each of these devices that every 24 hours, once you're connected to Wi-Fi or data, it will upload your data. So if you want to go out and creep on your patients, you can do so. Otherwise, we kind of tell them every 2 weeks, just send us a message, let us know, hey, go check me out. Or if, you're having problems, we can go out there and see what's been going on. The less devices to carry. But not only for patients to connect to their smartphones, but these devices can actually connect to up to 10 other caregivers' smartphones and send alerts. So for kids at their school, it can alert the school nurse, the teacher, and the parents, of lows. Or, if they're trending high, maybe they missed their dose of insulin with lunch. The elderly who live alone. So I have a patient who has this device, and her son in Idaho gets alerts, and he can text his mom and be like, hey, are you awake? Did you get that alert? Things like that. The hearing impaired, someone could go check on them, if they don't hear the alert. And then the mentally challenged, you have multiple caregivers. You can open the app, use it when you need it, and then close it, when you're not the one responsible for monitoring those blood sugars. Next. So one of the devices is the Dexcom G6. Dexcom was probably the beginning of continuous glucose monitors, and it's a wonderful product. On the left, you'll see the white and gray with the orange button. That is the applicator that comes preloaded with the sensor, which is at the bottom around the little gray thing, you'll see a blue. Yeah, that's the blue part's the actual sensor. That's replaced every 10 days for the Dexcom. It's very simple, even for the elderly. They literally push it against their stomach, push the orange button, and it's in. The gray part is the transmitter. That's the brains of the operation. That's replaced every 3 to 6 months, depending on the type of Dexcom you have. The black device is a receiver. You can either purchase that if you want that added device, or if you don't even have to purchase it anymore. You can use the app on your smartphone. This works with Apple and Android devices. And they also have an app that goes directly to your watch that you don't even have to have your phone nearby. So it can be as simple as wearing the device and having your watch on. That can give you the alerts, vibrations, noises, things like that. So specifically to the Dexcom G6, you change the sensor every 10 days. Used to, sensors were affected by Tylenol, but with this new one out, it's not even affected by acetaminophen, causing false highs. It doesn't require calibrations or finger sticks. So these patients, like I said, you literally put it on, and for 10 days, you don't have to check your blood sugar unless you have a low. If you have a low and you're not wearing this for many years, we strongly suggest you check before treating a low. Let's make sure your blood sugar is truly low and you don't skyrocket based off a false reading. But they advertise this as accurate as a finger stick. Like I said, it was good on Apple and Android devices. And then there's also the Dexcom Clarity. So what this is a program that is web-based. The patients just put an additional app on their phone, and it analyzes the data and provides trends and tips for the patient, but also reports for us when they come in. Next. So the other device recently out is called the Medtronic Guardian Connect. So Medtronic is really known for their insulin pumps, and they have had continuous glucose monitors that pair up, but this is their first standalone. So I just wanted to give you the option that this one is an option out there, and I'll give you the benefits on why I'd use one versus the other here later. This sensor is changed every 7 days. It does require 2 calibrations per day. There is no receiver available, and it only works with Apple devices. It's not available to Medicare patients, whereas the Dexcom is. Unfortunately, Medicaid doesn't find this medically necessary, so it's kind of a challenge to get those Medicaid patients on this, but it is possible. They do offer smart technology that can predict low blood sugars up to 60 minutes before, which that's pretty crazy. There's also a sugar IQ. So like I was talking with the other one, this is their new latest and greatest technology that uses IBM Watson technology to analyze trends. And it will actually, if you put in like you eat pizza or you eat, a particular meal that you eat frequently, it will track what you did, before that and after that, and keep records of that on how that particular meal affected you, a particular exercise, cardio versus weight lifting, things like that. And it'll analyze those trends and how you react to those specific situations. It also uploads every 24 hours to CareLink that we can access. Next. So these are the reports that we see. On the right, you'll see the first page. At the top, the one that we look at the most is the hypoglycemia risk. In the middle, it says minimal. So this patient in particular has only been wearing it for a short period of time. His blood sugars are quite high. So what it analyzed was that he was at minimal risk for hypoglycemia. It shows that he's like 36% above range. I can't see that number, but I think it's somewhere like in the 60s that he's normal, and then 3% low. So our goal is to get them 1% or less in that low. But there's actually 2 low ranges there. He has none in the severe low, which is less than 50. So with this patient, before we put it on him, he was having a lot of lows and not feeling them in the 40s. So just a week or so on this, he's already not having this. So they point out the obvious to us. So they found a pattern of nighttime highs and his best glucose. It'll kind of show you, it was March 19th. So you can go back and say, what did you do this day? This day was really good. So we need to make other days mirror this. So the first one at the top, it shows all of your days, all 288 readings of each day on a plot for you so that you can see he does have nighttime highs. Very rarely between 3 o'clock and 4 is he ever anywhere below 200. So we need to have this chat with him that, are you nighttime snacking, or do we need to increase your insulin? Then below that, you have your day, each individual days. Also with this, you can see those individual days. He did hit below 80 come morning. So, what did you do that night before that versus the other days that you never came close to low? Also, it'll show you the alerts. He did get an alert at 4:53 a.m. of a urgent low soon. So he was alerted that he didn't hit that low, and typically he would have went less than 40 waking up. So this has been very beneficial for him. So that's the Dexcom Clarity. That's just a few pages of it. It has quite a few other pages that gives you more data, but these are the ones we look at the most. So our next one will be the Medtronic CareLink. With this one, they do insulin pumps, so we look at this very frequently. The first report up there will show you the first black line in the middle is the average blood sugars throughout the day. The part that's shaded yellow will show you what they are 90% of the time. They are in that range, and then the additional 10% would be outside that. So that gives us a good idea to show us that, hey, this patient is typically over 180 every morning. So right there, real quick, we can look and see we need to increase their long-acting insulin because they're starting off their day very high. Also, the little square below that big, I can't think straight, below that big line right there, yes. That will pick up individual trends. So what are they doing between bedtime and wake up? And then the trends that they have between breakfast and lunch, lunch and dinner, dinner and bedtime. So it picks out those individual times. The next one up on the top will show you individual days. It not only shows you the line of the continuous glucose monitor, but it also shows you the individual blood sugars on there. So what we look on here is their blood sugars line up pretty close with their sensor glucose. So that means that their sensor glucose is pretty spot on. If this patient were to put in meals, how much carbs they're eating, how much insulin they're taking, the two little green ones down on Saturday and Sunday, those right there. So he's put in a little bit of information for us. Maybe that says he's eating so many carbs. And I can say, maybe you're not taking enough insulin, or did you even take insulin? That might be a question we have. So from the top to the bottom, you can see that we have a lot more data on the continuous glucose monitor than we ever would just getting these 3-4 blood sugars a day that's on the bottom typical logbook. So with this patient of type 1, we can say, yep, you're having highs and lows, but we can't track what you did in between. With the continuous glucose monitor, it really gives us a good idea of what's going on between those 4 blood sugars a day. Next. So because these two products are out there, I wanted to give you an idea of when we would use one versus the other. Both great products. I have great support from each company, and I don't have a preference. But Dexcom is someone who just wants a standalone continuous glucose monitor. Maybe they've never worn anything before. They just want to kind of put their toes in the water, see what it's like. I would strongly suggest the Dexcom. It's wonderfully rated out there. There's good support. There's lots of groups on Facebook that'll help these patients, figure out what's going on and how troubleshooting, things like that. So it's pretty helpful, the internet. But also if they're on a Tandem insulin pump. So Tandem is a company that paired up with Dexcom that made not a whole closed loop, but it has suspend before low with the Dexcom on their pump. So if they already have a Tandem pump, the Dexcom's the way to go. If they don't have an iPhone, because the Guardian Connect only works with an iPhone, if they want a receiver, if they want that extra piece, maybe their phone isn't reliable, maybe they forget their phone a lot, things like that. If they want that extra piece of device, Dexcom's the only one that's offered. And then Medicare patients. Dexcom is the only one that works with Medicare for their continuous glucose monitor. So the Guardian Connect, I give a lot of negatives about it, only because of the differences between Dexcom. You know, we all know what Dexcom can do. So what, you know, is the difference between the two? So someone I would put on Guardian Connect versus the Dexcom would be someone who is already on a Medtronic insulin pump and maybe not out of warranty. Their sales team does a wonderful job of starting them on this Guardian Connect and then transitioning them once their pump's out of warranty to the continuous glucose monitor that talks with their new pump. So it's just a really easy transition. So if they already have a pump, if they want to start this and then, you know, we know they're a type 1 and they would greatly benefit from the closed loop pump that Medtronic offers in the near future, this may just be a stepping stone. Or, you know, if they've tried Dexcom, have a bad taste in their mouth and decide that, you know, I don't want to work with that company, this just gives them another option. So that's never been out there before. Next. So we all know that this can give you blood sugars, but what do you do with that information? So some points that I want to point out to my patient of how to actually use this. You know, it's great for them to bring it in and show us, you know, what's going on, but really I want them to use this in daily use. So see what foods cause highs or extended highs. So maybe it will give them an idea of, you know, when I eat pizza, you know, I check my blood sugar before, it was fine, and in, you know, 6 hours it's fine, but how high do I really go during that time that, you know, I'm not checking, I'm not usually seeing it. You know, also, you have these patients on these set doses, you know, 5 units every meal. Well, let's see how high grilled chicken and a salad versus a high-fat, high-carb meal like pasta or pizza affect it. You know, that can give them an idea of, I really don't need as much insulin, you know, for those completely different foods. It also gives females a way to track trends during menstruation. Oftentimes before you start your period, your blood sugars go high. But if you're busy and not mindful, you don't even know when you're going to start your period. So it's easy to start and then go back and see the trends the 2 days before, you know, go back and be able to see that and see if we can prevent that for next month. Also to see how exercise affects you. So oftentimes we tell our patients to check before exercise, during, anytime they feel low, and then an hour or so after. That's a lot of finger sticks, a lot of test strips that insurances don't like to pay for. So this is super helpful to show them that, you know, everyone's always loading up on carbs before exercising, kind of defeats the purpose, but, you know, they have a fear of going low. So this allows them to see, you know, do I need a snack before exercising? I may not have to eat it unless I need it, and I have those fallback alerts that can help me, and only if I need it. But also, a lot of patients see that their blood sugars go high and after exercise. This is a temporary high, and they often drop lower later. So we want to show them that, you know, that individual finger stick that shows your blood sugar is high, let's wait it out and see what happens before you just go ahead and treat that with insulin.
Hey, Cherie, we're going to have to interrupt. We're just at the end of our session, and I know some people have patients to get to.
Okay.
But I'm going to make sure that everybody gets the slides. Is it okay if I forward people your questions? I hated cutting you off.
No, that's fine. I think this is almost the end anyway, so we're good.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. Our next session is April 10th, and I'll be sure to email you all of that information. And thank you all for coming to the session today.
Thank you.
Thank you.